Welcome back. We've been discussing the virtues of faith, hope, and charity. And as I discussed in my previous video, I decided it's best to interview people who are living out these virtues. And so we have today with us a very special guest whose story I heard and was so touched that I felt a deep desire for her story to be made known to the world. Such is her grit, determination, and faith. She's a young, strong, vivacious, confident young woman who's just completed her degree in medicine and is currently pursuing her house urgency in Kerala. So, without further ado, welcome Mariya.
Thank you so much.
So, Mariya, I'm so grateful that you joined us at such short notice, and for agreeing to do this interview with so much of difficulty. So, thank you so much. Yeah, Mariya, I just wanted to start off. If you can share with the viewers a little bit about your background, your family, your upbringing, and so on.
Yeah, so we are a very small nuclear family with 4 people. My parents and I have a younger sister. My dad is doing business and my mom is a homemaker who's been with me since the past 4 years after my accident. And my younger sister, she's doing her second year MBBS in Kerala itself. Bringing up, I did my kindergarten back in Kerala itself. Then we had to shift abroad to Sharjah. I did my schooling there from till 9th. I was there. It was during that time this recession and all came up, so we had to like pack our bags and come back to India. And then I did my 10th, 11th, and 12th here back in Kerala itself. And after that, my interest to pursue medicine, I joined this Al-Azhar Medical College, and yes, I've continued and I just completed it recently.
Okay. So, can you share with the viewers? I mean, when I gave the introduction, I did not talk about the accident, but you kind of alluded to the accident. So, if you can share with the viewers what really happened, in terms of the accident and how it kind of changed your life completely.
Yes. What happened was like I joined my MBBS like last 2015 year. And then I was all excited joining college, just like all those teenagers out there. And then it was after 1 year, during like 2 months before my exams, I had an accident that I slipped and fell off from the second floor to the ground. So following that, I had a spinal injury on my neck at C5, C6 level. I had a thigh fracture on my right side and a number of other injuries on my hand and head and all stuff. After that, I had been paralyzed from the level of my injury. Then my surgeries were done in a hospital called Amrita. And from there, I was shifted to the rehabilitation center in Vellur, Tamil Nadu. I did my rehabilitation there. Then I wanted to come back, like don't sit there and waste my life on treatment and all stuff. I wanted to come back and study. So I lost my finger functions also during this accident. So I couldn't hold a pen. I couldn't hold anything, in fact. Then somehow I managed to do it with the sketch pens, but getting back and writing exams was a big hurdle for me. So I requested my university to like give a scribe. Initially they were like giving a scribe because we have not done this anywhere in Kerala, so we don't know how it's going to happen. Then I went to the court. I had some sanctions and all stuff, and then we got it. And they told me it should be a non-medical student. I started practicing to write myself, and I started to write all my exams myself, and thankfully it got completed. Even though I had the scribe next to me, he was sitting happily and enjoying his time during that period. He helped me with all those diagrams, and I couldn't give pressure onto the pictures. So he helped me with the diagrams and just hardened onto the paper on the drawings and all. And then after that, I completed my first year, and then I had my classes with my friends, and it was all good. And now I am pretty good with my fingers. Not that all my functions are back. It is all the same, like from the time of accident. But then, thank God that I'm able to do everything now, at least with my adaptations.
So you mentioned that you're paralyzed neck down. With this kind of a physical immobility, which is quite severe, there's no denying the fact that you need a lot of support. I mean, it's indispensable for your day-to-day functioning. So if you can just share with us what has been your support system, or who has been your support system over these last few years.
Support system, I should say both the critics and the support. Those who just tell me you can do it, and those who tell me you can't do it have been my support. Don't say that. I have to try it and prove it out. And I used to sit, work, and just show them that, see, I can do it now. And to those people who support me are basically my family, my sister, my mother. She's been with me since the accident. She's not gone back home actually. In fact, she's been with me like 24/7. My sister, she was doing a 12th during my accident. She was all shattered and she didn't know what, she was all left alone. She also had to pick up, and then she started supporting me. And my friends, definitely, they never treated me as someone, okay, this is a paralyzed person, she's gonna be secluded and she's gonna be kept as a disabled person. Never. They were like, we can do it, so definitely you can do it, don't bother, we are here for you. They were like that strong, and I'm very happy for the fact that I have some people like them. Then my professors, when I came back first after 6 months of gap back to college, I didn't have any idea what I had learned. I had no idea what I'm going to do also. They gave me special classes, and yeah, thankfully I'm here now.
Okay. So you just mentioned in your your response just now that your support system have you've had critics who've basically told you can't do this. So that leads me to my next question, which is when typically when you go through any kind of tragedy or such a severe situation, the thought process is quite normally quite negative, because you have to battle negative thoughts, why me, this is too difficult, it's impossible, I can't carry on, and so on and so forth. Apart from the voices of the world, you have to battle your own thoughts. So if you can share with the viewers how you sort of renewed your mind on a day-to-day basis, because the mind is the biggest what we need to overcome more than anything else. The outside world, the voices, yes, but constantly those voices in one's own mind which tell us that which tells one that you can't do it. So how did you renew your mind? And in your case, it seems like you've not just renewed your mind, but you're also able to go beyond that, and then like be positive and carry on with whatever you have had to do. So how have you been able to do that?
I'll have to tell you what kind of a person I was before my accident and after my accident.
Yes.
Before my accident, I was not a very positive, but I like to do adventures and risk and all stuff, but not so positive, because at times you sit back and fear, oh, can I do it, or do I need support? And you drop a bit. But the moment, it was like a snap of finger or snap of the second needle. The moment I felt, the next moment I started to think, no, there's nothing impossible for me. I'm doing everything. I have to say thanks to just all those thousands and thousands of people who prayed for me to come back, because there were three choices for my accident. Either I could have died, or either I could have come back fully without no problem, or I'm like this. But I think God had the plan like to bring me like this so that I could do more better things. If I'd come back just I was before, I would be just like the normal person, like everyone out there. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother about all these things. About I'm not lost anything. So it just happened and went. At the moment I lost what I had, I started regretting on the things that I didn't do. I started regretting on the things that I had, but then I couldn't do it. So then I started to bring myself up. There's nothing impossible. You can do it. But thanks to God, of mainly, and to all those people who prayed for me. I can't count them, because friends, and the news went so abroad, and I had calls from London, America, and also this thing. I'm praying for you. You will come back. And thanks to all that, I'm doing good now.
So basically you're saying you've never had to battle any of those negative thoughts after the accident?
at all. Not I'm not given a chance. If it's like you say, the idle mind is a devil's work. So I was never idle. I had things being going around in my mind to like what next to do, or like I was always busy, so I didn't have a time to like sit back and think, oh, so this happened to me, and why this happened to me. That sort of question never arises. In fact,
Wow, that's pretty amazing because very few people have the grace to live like that, because mostly people get into a sort of negative mode when something unforeseen happens, right? So that's got to be the power of prayer and the grace of God working in your life. From what you've shared so far, you've said that, your constant endeavor was what next, what next. And if someone says you can't do this, then your whole thing was, no, I am going to give it a shot before I give up, right? So your desire to pursue your studies, even when you were, undergoing treatment, you said you wanted to kind of pursue your studies. So what has been your motivation to become a doctor? Obviously, you had the desire even before the accident, but to pursue that vocation or profession against all odds, what would you say the reason for that is?
if you ask me the reason, even I wouldn't know, because it was like I wanted to be a doctor. Like early, you wanted to be a doctor. Like everyone wants to serve the society. Just not thinking about what the patient or not. It's just like the doctor name, how people view it. Like okay, it's a doctor and it's serving. But then after my accident, I saw nurses, doctors working hard to bring back a life. That gave me a lot of motivation to bring back a life and see that life flourishing and flying with all those colors for the big motivation. Because then what happened was that when I went to Vellore, the rehabilitation center was brought up started by a paraplegic. Like she had an accident during the end years of her MBBS, and she seemed like me had her legs paralyzed. Despite of her hands, only her legs paralyzed. But then she started to understand how others feel when they say they're paralyzed, or the empathy that we should give to the patients. Then she started this, and she was also a big motivation. Even all those professors and doctors over there called me Little Mary Varghese. And I'm like, let me not be the Little Mary Varghese. Let me be the first Mariyabiju, and then show others that let's not be the next. Let's be the first.
So my next question to you is, so you mentioned that you had live examples of people who sort of went through a similar situation and then went on to serve other people. So would you say that you're becoming a doctor because of what you've gone through is with that mindset of wanting to serve others? I mean, you said at the very beginning that it was earlier it was with the perspective of I want the title of being a doctor. So would you say that that's changed now, and the purpose is to serve?
Yes, definitely. Because what patients want is empathy. Rather than sympathy, what they want is empathy. And I've heard one doctor saying this, once you become a patient, you can be a better doctor. And I have been the best patient. So I hope that I can be a better doctor. So that's been my striving force to like serve the people and be there for them.
Have you ever had a thought? You said you haven't had any negative thoughts in these past few years, but have you ever wondered to yourself, uh, you know, uh, I have faith, I know a whole lot of people are praying for me, uh, but how is it that God hasn't completely healed me, or I've not been able to walk? Or has anyone, or have people come up to you and said, hey, listen, your faith is not strong enough, which is why you're not fully healed? Has that ever happened? So my question is, so my question is, what is your perspective about faith and miracles going side by side?
Faith, yeah. I had many people coming up and telling me, see, you have to pray, you have to attend this dhyanam, then you will get back and you'll start walking, you have to attend this, you have to have the faith in God. You're not having that, and that's the reason you're not showing. But for me, I never had such a thought, because it's God's gift that I'm staying positive. Because the moment after my accident, if I had changed, it's thanks to Him. And that is what I believe in. If He had put me through negative thoughts, I wouldn't be here doing these things, and in fact, doing this interview right now. But then, thanks to God that He gave me the best faith, the best strength, the best backbone, and I'm happy for the fact that He loves me, because He definitely has a plan on what I should do. So I've never had a question on those, I never had to answer those people who came up with telling that your faith is a problem, and that's why, my faith is perfect, and that's why I'm staying positive. I've been always been happy for that. And even when I was small, I remember my grandfather telling me, you we are very small, so we need all those things like, I want it, I want those chocolates, I want those first rank in my class. But I remember my grandfather saying, you pray for yourself is not bad, but then you pray for others, that gets a gift to you also, because you're caring for them. So then I used to start with, your kids, you still don't know. So okay, my cousin should get first rank, and my cousin should get that. But then eventually, when I grew up, I understood. So I had those people around me praying for me with that love and care. So I never had a question about this.
Okay. I also wanted to ask you, I remember, I think reading that, you were someone, you also mentioned that you were into adventure sports, or, all kinds of adventure activities. You were a bike rider, and, you drove. So, the fact that you can't do many of those things now, you may aspire to do it. So has that ever sort of made you feel, I had this, but now I don't have this? Many things that you did before. How do you sort of, like deal with those situations? Because those situations are real, right? I could do this before, but now I can't do it. Or I could play before, I could, take part in this sport, but now I can't. So how do you sort of deal with situations like that, which happen on a regular basis?
Definitely, that would have been tiring if I was the earlier person, like I told before. But then I never had such a question. The problem was like, I was an athlete, and then I couldn't come back and run. But it's okay. I'll start doing things that I can sit into. I started researching on those paramedical, Olympic and Paralympic games, and what people do, they can do it. And thanks to the new technologies, we have everything that is possible. So there is no question. And after my accident, I never thought like I was a person who used to walk. I never had such a thought. In fact, I feel that I was born like this. This is my second life. I'm just living it to the fullest.
Finally, I want to ask you, we live in a world which has got a very mixed up view about death. On the one hand, we have, suicides that are just, the rates are just skyrocketing, especially amongst the youth. And on the other hand, what we've seen, especially over the last year, is people are so afraid of death, almost to the point of paranoia, especially the older folks in light of this coronavirus pandemic. So as someone who's seen death up close, what is your perspective about death, or what do you think should be the right attitude towards death?
I was someone who was very scared of death. Like death was something that feared me the most, I should say. But the moment I touched it and came back, I never had that question back, because let me die today, tomorrow, or day after. But then I've got my life with me. Why am I wasting it on thinking that I'm gonna die today, tomorrow, and all? Let me use it to the fullest so that I can die happily. It's an awakening to your afterlife, a best dream so that I can be happy in my afterlife. So I never had a second thought of that. Even when I have got all these crazy things and plans to do in my life, I say, Amma, I want to do scuba diving, I want to do skydiving. And Amma said, you do it after my death. I don't want you to see you in all those situations. I would have some attack, but then I would tell Amma, let me die doing something that I love. Just like Abdul Kalam sir dying doing his speech, that was something that he liked the most. Just like Paul Walker, who died during his accident, though we missed him so much, he would have been happy doing that and die. I hope so. Well, I believe in that, and let me do and die in something that I love. So I'm not at all feared about death anymore.
So yeah, so that's a great perspective because I mean, this last 1 year, we've seen so many people just becoming so afraid of death and like clinging to life, as if this life is all that there is to our being created. So Mariya, thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview, and that too at such short notice. I want to reiterate the fact that when I read or came across your story, I was literally deeply touched because I myself consider, I consider myself as someone who's fairly determined, but your story touched me so much that, I was like, this is literally someone who has not allowed any situation to come in the way of, her dreams and aspirations. So literally someone who's risen above, your circumstances. You've not allowed your circumstances to limit you, and that is not something which is seen very commonly at all these days, because you see, youngsters who fail in their exams, or who are shouted at by their parents and go to take extreme measures. So you on the other hand, you've faced such an adversity, but you've not allowed your circumstances to limit you. And the other thing I think of when I see you or when I read your story is, I don't think impossible is a word in your dictionary, because you because you seem to like want to do whatever you want without anything limiting you, and that's just an amazing quality. Because most people don't have that. Trust me, with their legs and hands and everything functioning, most people don't have that kind of a mindset towards life. And finally, I think the thing that has struck me the most is your story or your testimony. What has struck me most is, we live in a world where we're conditioned to believe that faith means it always has to be accompanied by miracles. And the miracle, the meaning of miracle is something which is above nature, or an occurrence which is above nature. So, we are told that, okay, listen, you pray for healing and you'll be healed, or any impossible situation, and if it will turn around. So the litmus test for faith is the manifestation of a miracle. And if the miracle doesn't happen, you're almost told, listen, you don't have enough faith. So yours is a story which, for me, what stood out is, the greatest miracle is not any of these things. It's not a healing. It's not a situation which works according to our advantage. The greatest miracle, like I was sharing in my teaching on faith, is one's ability to accept the plan of God, one's ability to accept suffering, one's ability to rise above situations with a positive attitude, with with being happy in those circumstances. And I think that's the greatest takeaway for me as far as your story is concerned, because we're conditioned to believe that faith and miracles go together. But the greatest faith is the indomitable human spirit, and that's what you embody. So I hope our viewers will take that lesson away, that it's not just a healing or any of that we ought to pray for, but like you said and shared in your interview, the fact that you are alive is what gives you the joy. The fact that you're alive gives you the ability to want to do everything possible, which you did not probably do when you had everything going for you. So I hope that's the takeaway for every person who's watching you. And so thank you once again for agreeing to do this. You've been, I know I hounded you for this, literally to do it at such short notice, but you were so magnanimous to agree to do this. And I know your mother cooperated as well, because I'm sure she had to kind of do that extra thing so that this happens. So a big thank you to you and your family for this. So I hope you continue to be an inspiration, not just for the youth, but for people of all age groups who feel bogged down by life circumstances. I hope they take away this lesson that nothing needs to limit us. It's our own attitude to life that makes all the difference. So thank you once again, Mariya, for your faith, your determination, and everything that you've come to embody. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you.